So this is GazNeon from AM Radio, and we are in possibly the coldest but largest green room that we've been in for a long time, and we are having the pleasure of Defences here tonight in Leeds at the Key Club. We have
Ian,
and you play.
I play bass.
William, and I'm on vocals, screamed.
I'm Cherry, and I am a vocalist.
I'm Callum, I'm a guitarist.
I'm Kyle, and I'm the drummer.
So Defences are new to myself and possibly quite new to a lot of the AM Radio listeners. So where did it all start?
Oh god, it's me, right. I suppose we've been going for a while in various iterations. I suppose it started out of an old band where we kind of, we chopped and changed a few members. We were sort of in a bit of a rut. We'd got rid of a few people. We found Cherry. Very quickly afterwards we found Carl, and then our old bassist. And over the sort of intermittent few years, we then picked up everyone else. Yeah, I would say so.
I believe you've been going since, is it 2013-ish?
Yeah, late 2013.
Yeah.
So quite a fresh.
Yeah, well,
fresh young band.
I mean, certainly like this version of us, which we think is probably the final version.
Hopefully.
It's our final form. Yeah. It's our
Final evolution.
We've been going for a long time, and it feels like in the past year we've been, like almost like a new band again, which is really, really interesting actually. It's really good to approach shows with that kind of fresh attitude, which I think that you get when you have new members in, and you all just click.
So where are you guys based?
It's interesting actually. So we say supposedly Hertfordshire, but we're kind of based in Hertfordshire. A couple of us live in Hertfordshire, 2 of us live in London. Sherry lives in Oxford.
Yeah.
So we're kind of, I guess, the centre of that. Like if we take an average, that would be Hertfordshire, I guess. But for a while, it was interesting because we had a year out where Callum was actually studying languages and was living in Spain, and so he was flying back for rehearsals and shows, which showed his devotion.
So I imagine the centre of that would have been somewhere in northern France.
Yeah, so probably a Calais-based band for that year. Yeah.
Radio Brittany band. Yeah. But yeah, I'd say Hertfordshire more.
Yeah,
or less.
probably Hertfordshire. Yeah.
So who's the main songwriters within the group?
Callum, for sure. Callum normally starts off the songs. He'll have an idea, develop it, and then it will get passed along to everyone else.
I mean, I think because it's been such a transitional phase since our album in 2017, the people have changed, the music has changed, the sort of values of the band have changed quite a lot, and I think now it's far more collective. I think because we've only Shatter is the first song that we've released as this sort of rejuvenated band. And that started out with me and Carl, but it quickly became a kind of collective thing. And certainly with where we go next and the music that we're recording now, it's we're taking ideas from everyone's influences and sort of coming up with something that we think is a positive progression for the band. So we're really stoked to see where we go next.
What kind of themes and inspirations have you got now from where you were then? You're saying there's a transition.
I suppose it's hard. For us, we self-released the album, and it was a tough time. It's hard to do things when you don't have any money behind you, and we spent so long with that lineup, put all of our faith into this musical direction, and the album ended up doing very well, but we changed 2 very key members immediately before and after the album release. So I suppose with the album, a lot of it was kind of a bit sort of like clear sky thinking. I think it was very kind of optimistic no matter what, and I think now having been through a bit more as people, as a band, having grown up a bit, I think we're now more okay with the idea of having adversity, and rather than saying you have to overcome it, sometimes you just have to live with it
and acknowledge it.
Yeah.
Those kind of I don't want to call it mental health issues, but it's mental well-being.
Yeah.
When they want to call it, quite a a strong thing going off in the rock world at the moment.
Yeah, definitely.
So has that changed how you are as individuals then off the back of everything you've gone, or do you feel that you are still very much the same people, or has it changed you quite?
Again, I've seen the band. I'm obviously a newer member, but seeing the band kind of progress from that, and going through my own hardships and stuff, and then hearing how they had the same kind of situation as a band. So I think when we came together with Shatter, for me anyway, I definitely resonated with the lyrics quite a bit, and so for me it was quite an easy transition really into the band, and I think it shows in kind of the material that we're writing from here on. It's again, as Cherry said, kind of not overcoming hardship, but kind of learning to live with it and understanding that it exists, and things do go up and down. They do get better. It's just the way of life, really.
Yeah, certainly for me, lyrically, that's one of the things that I think is really important that we portray with these newer songs, is the fact that, you know, everyone goes through difficult things, and it is okay to acknowledge them. You know, you don't have to just pretend that they're not happening or ignore them. That's kind of the main difference for me in terms of my lyric writing from the album to now, is there's a lot more of acknowledging that.
Having listened to the your last album quite a lot over the last couple of days, just to kind of get a feel for what you're doing, and then comparing that with the new one, there is certainly I don't say a darker edge to it, but there's
more of an edge. So
yeah. Whether that is the introduction of yourself, without disrespecting your vocals, his do seem a lot dirtier.
Well, there's actually disrespect to me. They're actually not my vocals.
There was another member who was the bassist as well, as it were. So it did come to a front. There had been moments where Callum had spoken to me before about filling in for shows and stuff like that, but I was busy in different projects at the time. And then when he approached me in August last year, he was saying, look, like, the band is kind of evolving, it's becoming something a bit new, and you know, that heavy side was just there, like it was already written in some ways. So Shatter kind of was me to kind of stepping up into those shoes that they were kind of looking for, I think, it's again, the future material is kind of blending that together into what they had envisioned.
I think that a lot of it was still in the album, like when we're talking about this aggression, this edge kind of thing. It was there maybe at the beginning of the process, or it was there about halfway through, and it's certainly like involved in all of the songs that we wrote in one way or another. But maybe we just kind of toned it down or scaled it back a little bit, and I feel like now we've just decided that we don't want to do it. You know, we just want to make sure that we just write stuff that we're totally stoked about, and we're really, really happy with what we did with the album, but we just wanted to make music just for ourselves, really, and not hold back at all. And so if there was a part that was like, seemed like, wow, this is really heavy when you compare it to like our other music, instead of thinking we should, you know, maybe rein it in a little bit so it blends a bit more from album one to whatever comes in the future, I think we just thought, doesn't matter, let's just see what happens, really.
And I think really, isn't it?
I think maybe that's why it's come out feeling so exciting and so rough, is because we wrote it like that.
And like you said, apart from the name, you essentially feel like a brand new band anyway, so why not allow yourself that new that new angle?
I mean, we've always, certainly with the way we approach the album, I suppose it comes from, I think we all have quite short attention spans, and to me, when we were writing, the album felt like our take on several different kind of prevalent alternative genres, and I don't think that's something that we've lost. I think now, rather than pigeonholing ourselves or thinking about, you know, where do we fit, we've just gone, do we like this, and are we proud enough of it as a piece of art to put it out to our fans? And I think that's why, you know, Shatter's having such a good reception. I think that's why we feel so rejuvenated, is because rather than worrying about the industry or any other side of it, we've just said, look, like, we're just going to make music that we like, and thankfully people have liked it as well.
I think if you look at any kind of successful bands, really, it's the ones who kind of can take risks, and they're happy to say, look, after album 1, we're not just going to continue writing the same album over and over again. And I think Shatter is kind of the start of that, and saying like, look, there is growth and progression in what we do. And again, as Callum was saying about the culmination of different styles, I think as the scene has evolved as itself, so does the band. And so those influences also evolve.
The battle never ends. The source is where I stand. Can't read the seasons out with slips to running sands. I lay my head, you're falling. You turn your head, I'm on my knees. Can't face the fear of starting over. Are you doing this for the right reasons? Do you even know?
Do you all have kind of different tastes individually then away from...
I'd say we do, to be honest with you.
It crosses over, but there's definitely
Does there come a point where you just get to say, hold on a minute, that's enough, that really doesn't work?
The thing is, the music industry, like, so many songs are being written and they are all melding into different genres almost. Like, there's too many genres to just put your finger on, what one band might sound like.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of bands are a mix of different sounds. Just some people label it one thing or another.
I found doing this kind of thing that bands kind of create their own sub genre. Post slamcore. And progs that are progressive rather. The buzz prefix and suffix these days, but which I found kind of interesting looking through some of your reviews, reports and posts and a bit of feedback, that you actually just went with the alt tag. Whereas some people are throwing the core bit about, and I'm thinking there's not enough core in it to be metal. But then there's all sorts of other stuff, so given something alt, which kind of
very open, isn't it, really?
It is. People of my age probably think like weird late 90s kind of stuff, but obviously you guys, but like Primus and Jane's Addiction and stuff, they were always very alt, but I suppose as things move on, things change to some degree.
I mean, we just, to be honest with you, we were kind of as nonplussed as everyone else. I think we just said like alt metal. We are technically a metal band, but I wouldn't say we're like metal like Iron Maiden. So I suppose we're alt. That was basically I mean, if we say we're a metalcore band, people then compare us to someone like Killswitch Engage, and we obviously don't sound like them. And then like, what even is metalcore anymore? Nobody
itself has evolved. Right?
Genres to some regard, unless obviously you try to differentiate between a death metal band and a sludge rock band. Pretty much redundant anyway, because like you said, there's so much bleed and so much crossover. And
we recently got put in a Spotify playlist called New Metal, and I had to do a double take for a bit just to make sure it wasn't like NU metal. We're not really new metal, but it's just a new metal track that came out recently. So.
I think the members can change the tone of an album. The production can change the tone. It's very an open source there, really.
Which I always find weird about how they get, or bands seem to get somebody else to produce, because how are they going to know what you're hearing?
I think
when you've come together and jammed it and you're like, yes, this is how we want it, somebody else comes along and twiddles all knobs, and it's
always a risk. It's always a risk, and it comes down to a lot of trust. And like we've worked with several different producers over our career. And all of them have brought things that other people haven't, and it is like there have been times where we've got something back where we're like, this isn't our vision that we've gone, but it's actually taken it somewhere that we hadn't envisioned, and that's ended up improving the song. But unless you can produce to a high enough standard, it's very difficult to, unless you have unlimited time and money to spend on it. It's very difficult to get exactly what you heard in your head, so to speak.
It always feels like going to a police sketch artist, and you kind of say this and this and this, and then you wait until the end, and they turn it around, and you're like, Kind of. Yeah, but I think so. I can't really remember what even asked for in the first place, but this is good, or I want to change this. So sometimes it's quite good working with someone else, because rather than...
You have to suck it up.
Yeah, you kind of have to suck it up, and you kind of get a mesh of all of your ideas together. And some of your ideas, even when you say, I want it to be really heavy, but I want it to be like really big and open, and I want it to be like warm as well. And all these ideas, they sound really great, but they might even conflict with each other. And you don't really know when you're talking to each other, but when you're talking to a producer, maybe they can just wean out the bits that you actually mean and put it forward. So I've enjoyed kind of sending songs off and seeing what comes back, because like that sketch artist, I don't know what it's going to be like until they turn it around, and it's always normally a nice surprise, you know.
So if we just touch on something that's kind of doing the rounds again, have you had any friction with regards to having a female singer in the band? Has it caused any obstacles or pains in the arse?
No, I don't think it has, to be honest. Nothing off the top of my head, anyway.
Not that we've really experienced. Maybe someone hasn't selected us for something and just didn't tell us. But I mean, you do get are like comments online and things like that, which are either racist or sexist or whatever they may be. But we've never really paid much mind, because it's kind of the fallacy of putting anything out on the internet.
Yeah.
Someone's going to tell you you're a genius, and someone's going to call you a very rude word. We don't really care about any of that. We've never marketed ourselves as a female fronted band, because we don't think that's important to what we're trying to say. We are 4 guys and a girl who have one message, and I think that's the important thing, the message, not our genders.
And I think certainly as time goes on and people are becoming more accepting of everything, it's not as big a deal as it might have been even a few years ago to have a female singer in a band like this. So yeah, I think it's just becoming a more accepted thing. It's definitely not something that we've ever noticed as an issue.
It seems to be cyclic. It keeps coming back around. Somebody's bored, or they rehash a story from a couple of years ago, and then all of a sudden everybody's getting their knickers in a twist about female fronted metal and all the rest of it. Which, again, like we've spoke about genres and stuff, it's a selling point rather than a defining point, because Arch Enemy and Nightwish are completely contrasted. So but people still get really uppity about it. So. Right, if we can talk about the touring, we've got you up in Leeds. Is this a first foray up into the Shires?
I believe it is.
Yeah, first time.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. First time ever visiting Leeds.
I went through Leeds about 5 years ago to get some petrol, and it was very nice.
Petrol station, amazing.
Yeah, the coffee was hot. Can't complain really, but yeah, now I've actually got a chance to be in here and walk around, and especially check out this venue, the Key Club. It sounds fantastic. Really looking forward to the show later on. It's got a great sound and really good atmosphere. Apart from being cold in the back rooms, but that's it really.
Get your jumping jacks on, it's fine.
Yeah, exactly.
I think so. We're asking about this place because I couldn't remember quite where it was. Yeah, Leeds is pretty good for live music. So, where have you been on the tour so far?
So we started in Bristol, then went to Manchester, then Newcastle, then it was Glasgow on Sunday, and now we're in Leeds.
Next we've got Stoke, and then we've got London, and then Southampton, and that's where we part ways with Raven Age after that. And they'll go on and do their the rest of the European leg by themselves, which is awesome. But we've really enjoyed playing with them every single night. We've got loads of their songs stuck in our head, really. So we've
become fans.
We're big fans now. Yeah, it looks like we're at meet and greets all of the time. The way that we're talking to them, smiling ear to ear, singing their songs in the van.
As you spoke about your location and stuff like that. Does getting out up and down the country, does it happen quite frequently, or are you kind of confined to your kind of base?
And we're definitely more often in the south side of the UK, kind of in a bigger kind of circular route going up near Manchester, back down along the coastal towns up near Wales, and then doing that round and round. But I don't think that's because we didn't want to go more northern than that. We've played some individual really northern spots occasionally, you know, and this is definitely the most northern we've been on this tour, which is really cool. It's the first time a few of us have ever been to Scotland as well, just even going there, let alone with the band, so that was a really good experience. So we've got the miles under our belt for this one. The reception in town seems really different as well. Everyone's so nice in every single place that we go, and it's just every little place has got its own kind of individual kind of characteristic, what people are like, and you know, the food everywhere, it's just different, so it's really nice to experience. But the reception so far consistently been amazing every single night, so we're really pleased about that.
I'm going to be quite presumptuous, but I'm sure, have you got jobs?
Yeah.
Obviously outside the band, because rock and roll doesn't really pay the bills. Does that affect your ability to tour as well?
You have to be smart about it, I'd say, in a sentence. You need to know like when to pick your fights, I suppose, if you want to phrase it that way. You have to weigh up: is it worth it? Is it going to be beneficial for the band? Is it going to either make money or make fans? There's that balance as well. So it's very much a case of, you know, are we able to take this time off work and commit? You know, it's quite expensive to tour. It's not a cheap task. So it's quite a lot of organisation that needs to go into it, for sure.
So why should we come and see you when you come into our town next?
Well, that's an interesting question, isn't it? I suppose simply because the back catalogue is so varied, and also because of kind of what we stand for a band. I think it's a very inclusive show. We get the crowd very involved, not in some weird pantomime way, but like you know, our shows are fun, but we're not about people going to shows and beating 7 shades of something bad out of each other. It's lively. It's got, you know, we take our production with us as well. We try and make every small venue we play feel like a stadium show, and you know, it's good fun. It's heavy music, and we love doing it, basically.
I think another point to make as well, especially in terms of coming back, I think by the time we do come back to Leeds, I think we're going to have quite an interesting back catalogue to be playing, really.
We've got a lot of new songs on the way this year. Yeah, so this is kind of like a taster, really. We're kind of testing the waters with some new material, and you know, hopefully by the next time we come up here, it will be an even stronger set than it is tonight, which will say a lot, really.
So we became aware of you guys through the PR people down at Incendia. Did that seem like a necessary move for the band when you decided to get into the whole, I won't say management, but the PR aspect of things? Did it take a burden away from yourselves and allow you?
I mean, we've always really done PR. I think it's PR is a necessity right now for more so the industry side of music than for necessarily gaining fans. I think because the way music is consumed has moved so far towards streaming. PR is more about a status and a prestige thing, and about how many features you can get, and about how many, you know, how impressive you look to people higher up in the industry. But it's certainly great when you might get a radio play and you're suddenly exposed to an entirely new market that you weren't before. But we've always done PR. What's really interesting now, you know, not necessarily as a band, but looking at the wider industry as a whole, is where it goes and what PR becomes. Because even now you have people who are playlist pluggers, and that's their kind of full-time career. And you know, if they're good at it, they're worth their weight in gold. And that job, you know, 18 months ago, 24 months ago, just didn't exist. So I think PR will certainly change, but in terms of for us, we've always done it. We probably always will, in whatever the role entails, I suppose.
So what? Obviously, we've mentioned new materials and stuff. Is there anything set in the pipeline for deadlines or anything, or is it still quite fluid as to where?
We're releasing new music soon.
It's a politician answer.
Yeah,
we're releasing new music very soon. We haven't announced anything, and we haven't entirely set the date, but it's going to be sooner than a lot of people probably think.
Yeah,
is what I would say.
Yeah.
We've got a very exciting new team behind us, which is sort of guiding us, and it's really great to work with people who are as confident and stoked about our music as we are. So if people have liked Shatter, I think the next release will be something different again, especially when compared to the album. So I'm really curious more than anything to see how people react to it.
Yeah.
Was that a conscious decision then to go, rather than follow suit stylistically between the releases, and go for something that showcases the other side of the band in a way?
Honestly, we just wrote the song that we liked.
There was a collection of ideas, and it was whatever made most sense in the practice room, really.
Yeah,
was the next one, really.
We just got together with a bunch of parts, and I've found anyway that the stuff with Defences that I'm most proud of always happens, not because we sit down and think I have to write a riff here or a lyric here, but just because you play it, and then the first time you hear it, you hear something in your head. And I think it's like an absolute cliche that I'm sure you've heard 1,000 times, but the song almost wrote itself to a certain point. And yeah, in that regard, I think it came out different. That's for bloody sure, but
it was quite a smooth process, though. That was the big thing, really.
Certainly the easiest song to write we've ever written.
So it's just another thing that makes us really excited about moving forward and like finishing and writing more songs, really, in that vein.
I wasn't really surprised when it turned out different to Shatter and different to the album, because certainly the album itself has got quite a few, we're talking about subgenres, but I wouldn't say if you heard one song and you put it against another, you'd think they were almost different bands if it didn't sound like the same production, because the style was just, totally different. But it's still got that underlying theme that they're written by the same people and it sounds the same and it's got the same kind of interests at heart. But the actual riffs itself sound really, really, really strangely different. Almost like you could pigeonhole one song in, if the band sounded like that, into supporting a completely different set of bands to the other one. Get onto two different festivals just depending on which song you submit, really. So having had that on the album with every single song kind of sounding a little bit different, I wasn't surprised when we started writing new music and it changed even more, because all we've done now is we've just been more honest with our writing and with each other and letting people do whatever ideas they want. So it just is the album but more in extreme, so it comes out in, this sounds totally different to that, but instead of a little bit different, it's almost vastly different. And that's the really exciting thing about it, is where does it go from here?
Opening new doors and whatnot.
I will let you in on a little secret as well, that this sort of next step that we're taking is on the set for this tour. So you'll see it, and then you can make your mind up about what you think. We've already had some fans come up to us and highlight that song as what was that? That was so different. But yeah, it's had a good reception, which is promising for the release. But I'll leave the judgment to you.
And it's actually personally my favourite Defences song that we've ever written.
Mine too.
High praise indeed.
Right, so to wrap up, if anybody wants to go find your stuff, buy your merch, buy your CDs and stuff, where do they go?
So the website is www.defencesofficial.com. We've got all of our merch on there. You can buy the album on there. Obviously we have all of our social media as well. Easiest thing to do is just search for Defences Band and we'll pop up.
Yeah, just find us on Spotify as well. We've got everything on there.
Yeah, all of that good stuff.
Excellent.
I'm reaching out into the smoke, yeah. Should it be